Good afternoon, our guest of honor, Yang Muhammad Datuk Seri Setia Awang Haji Hamzah bin Haji Sulaiman, the Minister of Education. Mulia Haji Seri Luka Dr. Haji Rumaiza binti Haji Muhammad Saleh, the Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Education. Mulia Haji Asram Yahya Hamzah of the Ministry of Energy. Mulia Muhammad Riza, the Consul of MCYS, our project partner, Encik Muhammad bin Ofran, the country chair of PETRONAS Charikadi Brunei Limited, and colleagues from PETRONAS, our distinguished guests, our speakers, who will be sharing their valuable experiences with us for the next 5 months. Representatives from the universities, institutions, the press, ladies and gentlemen, Selamat Hari Raya Idul Fitri Maaf Zahir dan Batin. My name is Shaun Hoon, and I'm the founder of Curious Mind. I'm also the curator of the PETRONAS School of Life project, and I will be, for the next 5 months, one of the main speakers for the 20 sessions. So I'll be very, very busy, but I have 20 strong speakers who will be joining me in sharing their life experiences with the young people. So thanks to the generosity of PETRONAS, we are able to kick off the School of Life here today. Just now, Encik Muhammad has kindly and eloquently outlined the vision of PETRONAS School of Life. And I would like to spend the next few minutes sharing with you the thinking behind this community initiative to engage the youth. Now, you may ask, what inspired the PETRONAS School of Life? As Encik Muhammad stated, the PETRONAS School of Life teaches the essential life skills needed to succeed in life when the students step out of their classroom into the workforce. Most of the lessons that we will be teaching in the next 5 months, like self-ethics, self-discipline, work ethics, leadership and negotiation, grit, loyalty, and resilience. These are nothing new in our education system. In fact, these are the skills deeply embedded in the lessons taught in schools throughout the students' life. When they do their school projects with fellow students in group, when they participate in school play, when they participate in sports competition or burn the midnight oil to study for their exam, these are the things that harness grit in their study. My previous life, I was an editor for Inspire magazine, and I used to interview a lot of really, really successful people. And one of the common traits that I witnessed is that, if you look at the most successful people around, chances are they are not the people getting straight A's, who are at the top. So, what is the secret behind that? So what I'm trying to do is, we're trying to harness all the secret sauce to teach the young people. So we feel that, these life skills, these life lessons are way too important to be discovered by students in the embedded education system. If they're so important, we want to make sure that it's obvious so that the kids can learn about all these skills. Now, having been in the workforce for the last 2 decades, I have employed a number of young graduates and exchanged notes with many corporate leaders on the subject matters, and all this lead me to this very humble conclusion. Just because you have a university degree, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are fully prepared for the demands that is expected of you in the workforce. And one of the biggest issues, and I know that there are a lot of corporate leaders here and employers, and if this is why we will have to know, right? one of the biggest issues that employers have to face today with young graduates, even though they are much more intelligent, much more knowledgeable and resourceful than any of their previous generation, is their inability to take the heat, to persevere through pressure and remain loyal within an organization for an extended period of time. This generation, is being labeled as the strawberry generation because they get bruised way too easily, largely due to the protective nature of their upbringing, but that's for another conversation. Now, beyond getting an A in math and chemistry, what the young people need is an entirely different set of skills to navigate the workforce and their career. And that is exactly what PETRONAS School of Life set out to achieve. A blueprint to navigate life beyond what has already been taught in the classroom. Now, in preparation for this program, we asked ourselves some fundamental questions. Like, for example, why is it so often that A students end up working for B students? What would happen to our country's future if we can level up everyone's tolerance for adversity and grit? How can we prepare our youth to face the inevitable setback and obstacles that the world will throw at them, like having their heart broken in a relationship, or losing a family member, getting rejected? Once they get into the workforce, they have to get ready to be rejected over and over again. It starts with applying for a job, right? And of course, even getting fired. So how should they also deal with some of the obstacles that are not so inevitable, like adapting for the global pandemic and the many more catastrophes in the pipelines that are still unknown to us? Are our youth ready? Now, what about all the practical survival skills that they need to survive? For example, how exactly are they supposed to navigate in the landmines of office politics that they are about to encounter, no matter which organization they're joining? We also aim to use this course to help the youth to hold themselves to a higher standard by helping them expand their definition of success. What are the definition of success nowadays? Is having how many likes I have and how many YouTube followers I have, right? So this is ambitious goal that we want to set. By helping them to expand their definition of success beyond personal acquisition and glory, by taking into consideration of the social good that they are impacting towards those around them and at the world stage. Now, most importantly, this is so important, we ask ourselves, how can we turn those strawberries into Musang king? Externally untouchable, so strong and so powerful on the inside that they are impossible to ignore. But we have a few white friends who are looking at me blindly right now. What I'm referring to as Musang king is durians. So how can we turn strawberries into durians? That is our mission, and that's our mission for you fellow students. Now, instead of following the trendy buzzword of teaching the youth coding and data analytics, the PETRONAS School of Life returns back to basic by focusing on the small things, the trivials and the fundamentals, the seemingly insignificant details, so very often neglected by even the brightest students, which cumulatively makes up the difference between one's success and failures in their life's trajectory. Now, let me close by sharing with you a personal story that happened to me 20 years ago in a cafe called Coffee Zone in Gadong. How many of you remember Gadong Coffee Zone? Yeah. My wife has no idea that I'm putting this up, but here comes the story. So, my ex-girlfriend at the time, and now my wife, 20 years ago at Coffee Zone, we met these two Spanish travelers, as you can see on the picture. Their name is David and Isaac. I can still remember how both of them were dressed in their long and heavy caps, proudly displaying the badges that they acquired through different countries that they visited. The reason why I remember is when they took it off, they're all sweating inside, in the Brunei tropical heat. In their hands, they were holding two Spanish guitars, and they were hopping from cafes to cafe, asking for money with their deep and mesmerizing voices. As a musician, my wife was much intrigued by their passion and skills. So we started talking with them and ended up being their friend and ended up being their manager for free for the next few days, where we helped them to arrange for different singing gigs in different restaurants. That includes Fratini, Portview Cafe. Anyone knows what it is? Yeah, those who are not knowing that, you are not of our generation. And various places that are no longer around today. In return, they get generous tips and they get free meals, for their singing. Now, as Dion and I get to know, the two gentlemen deeper, we learn that they are no ordinary busker. As a matter of fact, both of them were accomplished lawyers from Ivy League colleges back in Spain. One of them was actually the owner, the older one, David, is owner of a law firm. So you may be wondering, why are the two lawyers hustling on the street on the other side of the world? Now, they told us that they are taking a year off, traveling around the world, intentionally not bringing money, with the goal of making through each day, through their artistry, singing, basking on the street, to find the next meal. Orang Putih, we don't understand that. But, as I press on, being curious as I am, as I press on and ask the question, why exactly do you do that, David? And David told me this. He said, I did this because I wanted to have the certainty that I will not be held hostage by my job. Yeah. That, one day, even if I lost everything, I know that with my two hands, and my guitar, I can go anywhere and I can survive. Yang Muhammad Dato', Yang Mulia Datin, ladies and gentlemen, one very, very important lesson that I got out of these two extraordinary gentlemen is that you cannot learn how to build self-confidence in the classroom. Not even the finest law school teaches you that. Now, you can only learn this by being intentional, by putting yourself in unfamiliar territories, embracing the lessons from the school of life, by conquering your fears, making mistakes, and solving problems while figuring out what the next dinner is going to come from on your dinner plate. Now, we call our project the PETRONAS School of Life, with the objective of teaching those lessons beyond the classroom, knowing full well that the real lessons, the real gems, may never be adequately transpired in our classroom either. But I, along with 20 distinguished guest speakers, many of them are seated amongst you today, we will do our best in sharing whatever we have learned from our very own school of life, to be their best guitar and voice coaches, in giving them the tool to discover the answers for themselves when they take on the work. Now, I will spare you from my hour-long presentation on the details of our modules, so you all can relax. You can read all of them at www.curiousmind.biz/psol. However, allow me to take this opportunity to convey our very special thanks to PETRONAS for your strong support for this initiative. Allow me to convey my sincere thanks and appreciation to our guest speakers for your generosity of spirit in sharing your wisdom to the youth. Thank you also to the schools and the youth community who have so kindly bestowed their trust in us. Last but not least, to our esteemed guest of honor, Yang Muhammad Dato', your team at the MOE, the valued representatives from His Majesty's government, and all of you here today. Thank you, and let's grow our very own Musang team out of our young people. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Shaun. A great point made indeed. A uni degree doesn't mean that you are fully prepared for the demands and expectations of the workforce, and this is where PETRONAS School of Life comes in. We are definitely